I've worked in television for over 30 years. Occasionally you'll come across a story that is so good, but would never be on television. This is that story. It's a story of the CIA, Ronald Reagan, the Challenger disaster, Ayatollah Khomeini, the Contras, Sandinistas, lasers, and even UFOs. It's true, and it is one of the best spy stories I have ever heard. Lasers, a Bell Lab invention, came out of microwave amplification. They were studying molecular makeup and discovered that the shorter the wavelength, the more detail they could see. And so they came up with the idea that if you could amplify microwaves, you could possibly amplify visible light in slightly higher frequency electromagnetic spectrum. Amazingly, they did. I mean, the basic laser idea is to have a rod of, say, ruby with two mirrors at either end, spiral flash tube round the rod, fire energy into the rod. Electrons change state because of the energy and release a photon. These photons bounce backwards and forwards off the two mirrors, getting more and more and more and more. One of the mirrors is semi-silvered or has a tiny hole, and out of that hole comes a focused, single wavelength, narrow beam of light, a laser beam. Lasers intrigued Myran Muckerheide. Myran Muckerheide, what a fantastic name. Myron lived in Wisconsin, a Midwest state in the US, in a small city called Warsaw, where he built a laser lab in the 1960s and produced lasers for the medical industry. It's found that lasers could be used as a scalpel, and it was also used as a tool in optical eye surgery. Myron has 7 US patents. Lebanon, US hostages are being held by Hezbollah. President Ronald Reagan wants them released on humanitarian grounds. He asks for the help of Ayatollah Khomeini from Iran. US relations with Iran were at all-time low. This is really never going to work. The US had imposed sanctions on Iran. No goods were being allowed to be sold to Iran, and the chances of Iran having an influence to free the US hostages was very, very slight. Why would they help them? Ronald Reagan, CIA, started a project to free the hostages. They came up with a plan that if Israel gave Iran weapons, and we're talking serious amount, there's a list of what they gave them, over 2,000 rockets. These are surface rockets used in anti-tank warfare. And then Israel would buy weapons from the US to replace the stock, and that money would be black money that could be used for other things. The person in charge of that project was Oliver North. In Central America, the country of Nicaragua was being controlled by a socialist government, the Sandinistas. In the bordering country Honduras, right-wing Contra rebels were trying to overthrow the Sandinista government. The US at the time decided to help the Honduras Contra rebels overthrow the Sandinista left-wing government. Again, it was an Oliver North project, and he had money now from the Israeli arms deal. In Wisconsin, there was an extreme right-wing terror group supported by State Representative James Lewis and the chemist Albert Iwan. Albert and James wanted to support the Contra rebels, and so did a deal with Oliver North to supply weapons to Nicaragua. It was very hard for the US to be seen to sell normal weapons, Lockheed Martin, guns, rockets and things. So they came up with a plan to sell them laser weapons. Now, the exact nature of these laser weapons is unknown. Maybe they were just bright laser pointers that could be used to dazzle the government-controlled aircraft pilots, helicopter pilots, or maybe they were more dangerous and actually could kill people at a distance. The chemist Irwin actually threatened to use one of these weapons against Fidel Castro, and to demonstrate it, he was going to destroy the control tower at Chicago O'Hare Airport. He approached Myran Muckerheide to build them a weapon. Myron said he could build them a weapon, but Myron told the FBI. Good one, Myron. The FBI investigated this project. It turned out that it was sanctioned. Oliver North had given them money. There was 48 million US dollars kicking around for the Contra rebel support, and it had been given a project name, Project Tikal. You look up Project Tikal on Google, nothing. That's pretty secret stuff, I'm telling you. Some of the hostages in Lebanon were released, 5 out of the 7, and Reagan denied any connection with Iran. But it all came out and became the Iran-Contra affair, and people were going to be arrested, Caspar Weinberger, Oliver North, and there were no jail sentences. Everybody got let off. The FBI arrest Myron. He's never charged, but the state senator lost his job.
Yes, ma'am. We're getting hit by a laser at Thornton Park. Do we have a unit in the area that we can send over? He may have handed it off to the kid, but he was definitely the one shining the laser. Copy that, we're checking.
Now, this is a warning for kids. Never point laser pointers at aircraft. It's not a misdemeanor, it's not a state offense. It is in the US a federal offense with $100,000 fine and a 5-year imprisonment because of the Iran-Contra affair and because of Myran Muckerheide and because of the weapons that he was going to supply to the Contras. That is why it's such a big offense. If you've got kids with laser pointers, do not let them take them outside and point them at aircraft. They get absolutely jumped on by the authorities. Myron goes on to become a NASA payload specialist and flies laser experiments on board the space shuttle. Sadly, his last experiment was on board the Challenger, and that's what brought me to this story today as the anniversary of the sad Challenger accident. Myron, in an interview, told a story that he was so well connected and he went to such secret places to do secret work for the US government that one US base that he went to, he was told that if his car on this road to the base stopped, had a puncture, or somehow went off the road, he would be shot. Where is that base? What was he doing? Great story. Last part of the story becomes strange and leaves the world of reality, and but is real. He built a device, a laser beacon, to attract UFOs and a device to communicate with aliens using lasers, light, and wait for it, music. Hang on, so aliens land in the middle of Wyoming near Devil's Tower, the mothership makes some noises, and we have a large government facility that plays music. I think I've seen that somewhere. Isn't that called Close Encounters of the Third Kind? It's real. Part of the equipment that was heavily funded still exists. Here's a photograph of some of the laser pointers. Obviously it came to nothing, but Myron sadly died at the age of 74 in Wisconsin. Now this story is, as I said, it touches on Reagan, Contras, Challenger, and aliens. Absolutely impossible story to do on TV, but I'm bringing it to you today as just an introduction. I'd love to make it into a film. There's a great book called On the Laser's Edge. I'll put a link at the end of this film so you can get it if you want to know more. But wouldn't this make an amazing movie? Somebody out there knows more than I do. Please write a comment and tell me, and we'll carry on with this story and give you some updates. Thank you.